I'm a leaseholder on the Central Hill estate in Crystal Palace.
Yes.
That's a unique 70s development. It was actually designed by an award-winning architect. We found out 2.5 years ago that they're planning to demolish the estate.
Okay. Why? Do we know why? This is Central Hill in Crystal Palace.
Well, they said that they could get more density on the estate. So basically this is a mixture of low-rise maisonettes and a few blocks of about 4 stories high.
Okay.
So they said they could get more on it, basically.
Well, there's some sense in that, isn't there? I mean, if they put in 6-storey blocks or change the 2 stories into 4 stories, they double the amount of properties or the amount of homes provided.
Yes. I mean, if they were going to keep it all as social housing, I think that would probably be more justified. But this particular development has an amazing panoramic view over the city skyline.
Right, so it's posh.
This is just, well, it could potentially be amazing if they were to new build, penthouses, you'd have this amazing view. So basically they want to steal the view from us mere mortals and sell it on to people who could perhaps pay double the price of what they're willing to pay off. So I had to find out just from a news alert from the Architect's Journal that I got through my work.
Yeah.
I just found out that's the way I found out the estate was going to be redeveloped. And
so what happens to your flat?
Well, basically I've got a maisonette on the estate, and what they've said to us is that because we're non-resident, so
you're a landlady, are you?
Well, I do. I let the property out now, but we lived there for nearly a decade, and then because of my husband's work, he moved out here to Wiltshire.
Fair enough, and you didn't want to surrender your foot on the London property ladder because you'd never get it back on again. So you rent out the flat to tenants.
Yeah, eventually we did, yes, because we couldn't sell. We couldn't sell the property, and also we didn't know what was going to happen in Wiltshire. And we're Londoners essentially, so we wanted obviously to move back eventually. I think we would have done, but we were told then, after a lot of smoke and mirrors type communication with Lambeth Council, they then said to us, "Well, you're non-resident, so you don't have the right to return at all, even if you could afford to buy one of the properties which are double the price of what we're willing to pay you." So we're basically
just rewind, because that's exactly what I heard in North Kensington last week, and I didn't quite understand it. One fella told me we've been offered £450,000, but we'd have to find £800,000 to move back in again. Is that what you just said to me?
Yeah, this is what. So we were given some.
I don't know what to say yet. I'm sorry. I'm just going to have a sort of belch of fury, if I may, because I don't understand how this is happening in my country, and no one's cross about it.
Yeah, I've been so looking forward to you covering this subject because I knew eventually you would.
Sorry, I'm late.
I'm straight on the phone. As soon as I thought, that's it, James was talking about this, I'll have to ring, because basically a lot of estates like Central Hill are suffering very badly and they're not getting the publicity. Obviously, us people, we can't afford legal funds either.
Or PR companies or publicists or campaign managers or whatever else they're spending the council tax money on.
That's right. They're just residents who are giving up their free time to do sort of stalls on.
So give me the numbers. Give me the numbers. They've told you. They've told you that because you're a leaseholder, you're not a resident. You don't have any right of return. But everybody who owns a property on that estate is going to have to sell it to them for a price they set.
Yes, that's right. So all leaseholders, whether you're resident or non-resident, will have to sell back to the council. A few people ditched their properties at auction and made a really bad loss, basically.
Yeah,
some people just had to go because it was so stressful. So what they said to us about 2 years ago, they sent us some figures. And I thought, at last, we're getting somewhere with this.
Yeah.
They did a generic valuation across the whole estate, and they said, these are the kind of figures we're looking at. And it was just ridiculous. They said, basically, a 3-bedroom property on the estate, they'd be able to buy it back off us for, I think they said, between 250 and 300,000.
Yeah.
And then I looked across, and there was another column of figures for the the new build version of the same type of property, and that was 575 to 600,000.
Okay. So you are being told that you cannot keep your home. They're knocking it down in order to, you believe, with some evidence, flog the view to the highest bidder.
Yes.
They'll give you, let's say, 300 grand for it.
Yes. yes.
Which you put in the bank and find somewhere else to live for the duration. But if you want to move back into leaving aside the fact that you're not resident at the moment, it could have been you're the only home you've ever known for the last 20 years.
Exactly, yeah.
And if you want to move back into that postcode, that part of town, that actual land that you thought you owned or at least had a leasehold on, you'd have to find £575,000.
Yes.
And that is the end of this conversation. That is literally what you have been presented with.
Yeah, that's right. And I've been fighting it for 2.5 years. I've tried my best with very limited resources. So, yeah, this is basically where we're at. And it's actually made a lot of people ill.
Of course it's made a lot of people ill. And in fact, the more vulnerable, frail or elderly you are, the more likely you are to be brought low by this. Yeah, it's been really awful, and like I say, we've got no legal funds. Like the council have got the There's
whole
nothing you can do, is there? I mean, legally,
no.
I don't know what. I mean, we're going to have to look into this a lot more, and because I don't think, as you've, I think, possibly implied, this is huge, right?
Yes, it is,
and it's going on all over the place, and it's essentially social cleansing. It's social cleansing.
Yeah, and these, we've got no option now, but we will have to stay where we are. And if we
Wiltshire,
stay here, we won't be going back to London. That's for sure, because we won't have anywhere to go back to. So, any potential career or anything's all finished. And also, I haven't got 300,000 to put in the bank because obviously I've got a mortgage.
Yeah, so you pay off your mortgage and you're left with, and it's a lot harder, of course, now than it was when you bought the place because of changes to mortgages and deposits and the shifts in the property market. So yet again, the people, oh boy, can you keep me in the loop? Will you email me the latest?
Yeah, I would love to do that because
Thank you.
I'm just so grateful to you today, James, for bringing this up.
Well, I didn't know that. I'll do my best. I'm not, Professor Dumbledore, but I just have this horrible feeling. This is what I learnt last week, and I'd heard whispers about it before. I've got a friend in Ladbroke Grove. But she's a bit of a hippie, I've got to be honest with you, and I haven't been paying that much attention to what she's been telling me, but I think she's in a very similar situation. And yet she is a resident, and she is actually a freeholder, which is rare in the square she lives in. And she might be the grit in the oyster. She could prove to be the one resident who refuses to do what the council are telling her. But if this isn't social cleansing, what are you going to call it? People who can't afford a £575,000 property. I don't know whether you want to call them poor or not. It doesn't seem to me to be a definition of poverty not to be able to afford a £575,000 property. But they don't want people who can't find a £575,000 mortgage living in this area, despite the fact that they've lived there for 20 years. And what it means, it doesn't speak of, lead swingers and layabouts, that ludicrous tabloid narrative of scrounging or Skyver versus Striver. This is strivers. This is people who have played by the rules, people who have signed up for the social contract that's been for sale in this country for the best part of 40 years. And they've kept their side of the bargain, and now they're being told, sorry, you can't live here anymore. You just can't. You can't live here anymore because you're not rich enough. And up and down the country, the sort of forelock-tugging, feudal, British, tabloid, brainwashed people will be going, well, yes, absolutely fine. People should know their place. The village can't dictate to the estate.